Today, we're jumping into some of the reasons you might not want to move to San Diego. This is one of Cassidy's favorite topics. He can't stop laughing. We've grown up here, we've lived here our whole lives, a lot of our videos. We try to be very truthful in our experiences and kind of what we think of a lot of North County areas, the pros, the cons. We made a ton of videos on all those, so be sure to go check those out after this. But today, we're getting a little bit different perspective. We're just kind of doing a little Google search, kind of find some topics that would be interesting for you guys and some cons. The question was, do you regret moving out of San Diego? We're gonna go through one of the answers and kind of give you some insight into what we think. Is it true? It's somebody who had lived here for over a decade. And so just a little bit different perspective on reasons you might not want to move here. Let's get into it.
Hello, I'm Cassidy Lewis.
And I'm Chris Erickson.
And we are both realtors here in North County, San Diego. And this is where you come for all things North County. We're dropping new videos every single week on places, things to do, neighborhoods, and everything in between. So definitely, if it's your first time here, hit that subscribe button down below and check out our next videos. And if you are thinking about moving to San Diego, definitely hit us up. You can call, text, email. We love helping people move to San Diego, so definitely hit us up. We're getting new reach outs every single week, and we love hopping on Zoom calls and kind of getting your questions answered, so definitely get in touch. So like Chris said, we're gonna get into some cons of living in San Diego. And like you said, I love this topic. We're obviously biased. We've lived here our whole lives, but we try to be as objective as possible and give you the real pros and cons of living here. So seeing somebody else's perspective is definitely different and interesting, just because it's not things that you'd think of on a normal everyday basis here.
All right, so the first point that this guy made online was that he outgrew San Diego, or it's easy to outgrow it after only a few years here. You know, he's comparing it to like New York, Miami, SF, a few other places around the US where it's, you know, you have these big urban sprawling areas, even downtown San Diego. You know, it's a downtown area. We have Petco Park, the airport's down there, but the footprint of it is pretty small. There's a few, you know, distinct little areas for like nightlife and all that kind of stuff. It's like a lot of condo, townhome living up there. But San Diego County is huge. And so if you are focused on that downtown area and downtown living, yeah, you could probably get, you know, tired of that a little bit just because it's so small comparatively to a lot of other big cities around. But there is huge county to explore from. You can go out to the desert, you can go to the mountains, you can go to where we are up in North County, a bunch of little areas to explore, beaches, hikes, all that kind of stuff. So depending on what you're into, if you know, you get stuck in your little bubble, you might get tired of it, you might outgrow that a little bit. Another point he made on this too is it's a little bit like Groundhog Day, so living the same day over and over. And I mean, kind of, yeah. I mean, you know, especially us, we got our families, so we have our daily routines.
And part of the reason that it's kind of feels like Groundhog Day is the weather doesn't change much. It is sunny a lot. It is overcast during some months, but it's pretty consistent year to year. So part of that is Groundhog Day, and which means the things you're doing over and over are hitting the beach, they're going to new parks, they're exploring outside. And if nightlife is more your thing and not getting out and hitting trails and stuff, I could definitely see how it would kind of start to get repetitive. But we explore a ton, just having kids that we're trying to keep busy, and you know, we get out and our days change a lot, even though, you know, the weekly routine stays the same. One of the other things that he doesn't miss about San Diego is the food and mediocre restaurants. And there is some truth to that. There's a lot of like chain restaurants. There's a lot of spots that aren't great, but there's also definitely a big up and coming restaurant scene, kind of with the growth of craft cocktails here and craft beer. A lot of the restaurants and stuff are kind of taking that same, going in that same direction. We're seeing a lot of big chefs open restaurants and spots here in San Diego. We're seeing a lot of really great new restaurants open. So I definitely think it's getting better. There was a time where even especially in North County, there weren't a ton of great restaurants in Encinitas and the Carlsbad areas, but that's definitely changing.
And a really good spot to kind of keep up with what's going on in our food scene here, it's a website called Eater San Diego. Eater's kind of, they have a bunch throughout different cities, but the San Diego one, follow along and kind of see what restaurants are coming to town, opening soon, just open, all that kind of stuff. So it's a good place to check out. There's also a ton of like little, Mexican food is our go-to food here. So there are 1,001 taco shops, all kinds of different styles, real quick food. That's kind of like what you grow up on. You want to go grab a quick burrito. I think I might go grab a quick burrito after this actually, but that is kind of what we're known for here, so there's a lot of options in that realm. His next point was about infrastructure and potholes, raw sewage spills, and broken water mains. San Diego as a whole is not like a crazy old city like some of the East Coast cities, but from time to time, as with anything, you're gonna get some issues, especially in the downtown area. I think we see it a little bit more than the North County area where the roads are, maybe not fantastically maintained. I don't know what that's due to, and I honestly don't go down there too often, except maybe to catch a Padres game, so I'm not in and around there, but I am in and around these North County cities a lot. And so there's a lot of side roads, a lot of rural roads, all that kind of stuff that maybe are a little bit rougher, but all the main roads, they are consistently and constantly doing construction in all the different cities. So it kind of comes down to each city and how well they're taking care of it. And for sewage spills, he might be talking about down south, right near the border. There's a river that pops out down kind of in the Imperial Beach area, and they do have sewage spills from time to time that shut down the beaches. Up here in North County, we have a few lagoons and stuff that do run off into the ocean. And during heavy rains and stuff, kind of recommend don't going into the ocean. I think it's, 48 or 72 hours, something like that. To steer clear, to kind of let the water clear itself out. And then for broken water mains, I've never seen, have you seen much in North County? I'm sure it happens just like anywhere, infrastructure fails. Oh, okay, well, there you go. But I have seen down like in Mission Beach, there's been a water main that's broken a few times. I've seen it, it'll make the news, but it's just kind of par for the course as with anywhere.
So the next point was higher than usual state income taxes here in California. That is just kind of the necessary evil in our state. We just have higher taxes than a lot of other states in the country. So the next point that was made is the lack of nightlife and that it's a ghost town after 9 o'clock. For North County, for sure that is the case. There's a lot of restaurants and breweries and bars and stuff in our little communities, like our individual communities. But for the most part, they are closing pretty early. So if you're looking for nightlife, there's not a ton of there's no clubs in North County. There's not a ton of bars. You'll find some in Carlsbad where they're open super late, but for the most part, it does shut down pretty early here. And for me, that's fine. I'm in bed by 9:30 usually anyway, so my days of being out later behind me. But I'd say if and we have had times where we want to go out and, stay out a little later, and you can just go downtown. Like we've gone for little staycations and gotten a hotel in downtown San Diego and hit the nightlife up down there. So there are spots you can get to. It's just not North County.
One thing you can do, because there's no lack of it up here in North County, is breweries. And they're not open late. It's more of like a daytime thing. A lot of them are family friendly. You can bring your kids, let them cruise around, have a few tasters, and enjoy that. And a lot of them do have like these cool outdoor areas. Some serve food. So that's kind of like more of like our day life. That's kind of what we're more going towards now. Next one on the list is the Pacific Ocean and how cold it is for most of the year. Totally true. Right now we're in the middle of summer. And if I was going to go out surfing, I brought my guys to the beach a few days ago. The water's still pretty chilly. I think it's in the 60s right now. And that's, what it stays. It's a few days, a few weeks where it might bump into the 70s. Very rarely, a few summers ago, we got like 75 for like a week straight. It was killer, shrunk it, no problem. But during the winters, definitely wetsuits, super chilly, booties.
The next point was about dried, brownish landscape in San Diego. Just to remind everybody that if we weren't living here, if we weren't landscaping, San Diego is pretty much a desert. So before we came, there weren't a ton of trees. There's not a ton of palm trees. All of that is because humans are landscaping it. And so if you don't keep it up, it does get dried out and brown. But there are a lot of communities where it's super green. We're right here at Chris's house and we can see trees everywhere, and there's grass, green belts, and so there are a lot of communities where you don't have that, but it's just if it's left, unmaintained and untaken care of, it dries out to its original state.
And if you're cruising around, a lot of the hikes and stuff around here are just in the hills. All the local shrubs and trees and whatever growing on there, and so I'm colorblind, so it looks pretty dull to me no matter what, but it is pretty brown and a lot of the stuff's dead, and over time there has been wildfires and that kind of contributes to it, but just kind of visually, it does kind of look ugly, it's not like a rainforest or anything, but a lot of like you said, a lot of the communities, especially the mature ones that have had, 20, 30 years to kind of fill in, are landscaped very nicely. Another thing too, since a lot of the San Diego and California, time to time we go through droughts, a lot of the yards are sometimes dry landscapes, so basically like succulents and dirt and that kind of stuff. They make it look nice, you get a landscape architect and make it look really good. But that is a way that people are, re-landscaping their place to kind of save a little water throughout the summer months and whatnot.
The next point was probably the most right on of the group, in the fact that San Diego only has one truly professional sports team, and that's the San Diego Padres. Obviously, the Chargers left. We don't have a basketball team. We don't have a hockey team. We do have minor league sports. We got minor league hockey and the Gulls, a couple minor league soccer teams, but for the most part, the Padres are the only major league team. And since San Diego is kind of a transplant city, there are a lot of people from other parts of the US. And so even though we only have one team, it's really fun. It's a fun environment here in San Diego. If your team's playing against the Padres, there are going to be a bunch of fans from your team as well. A Giants fan here, and it's usually 50% or sometimes more Giants fans, even at Petco Park. One of the next things this gentleman mentioned is that San Diego Airport is not enormous, which is not. It's got 2 terminals. There are a lot of flights to major hubs, like you can fly direct to Chicago, New York, Miami. Some of the big cities, you could definitely find direct flights out of San Diego. And in the recent years too, we used to fly to Hawaii by driving up to LA, and it was a direct flight into the Big Island of Hawaii. Now you can fly to all of the islands direct out of San Diego. So that's something that's changed. Hawaii obviously is our main tropical destination here. But if you are looking to do international, usually there is going to be a connection in LA, or you're going to drive up to LA and fly out of there, because the international flights are limited here in San Diego.
The next point was that traffic, although not crazy bad many years ago, is getting worse, not compared to LA. LA still takes the cake on the traffic scene. As all the cities grow, more people, obviously more traffic lights. One of the most noticeable ones that I can see is San Marcos, and specifically like the southern portion right under the 78. A lot of growth, a lot of development going in there. New communities kind of filling in these old open fields, open spaces. They're actually like kind of bulldozing the hill for this big community called North City right now. But in that section, over the past few years, there's been a bunch of traffic lights cruising. But also many years ago, there was no connection even going over the hill to San Alejo. So as the city grows, the freeways grow, there's a lot of construction going on. They're widening the entire 5 freeway to add carpool lanes and kind of mitigate some of the traffic. And since we don't have a ton of public transportation, traffic is a thing. It's a commuter town. Everybody's got a car. Everybody's driving to work for the most part. And then a few more points. He talks about the weather not being perfect. It is, but for the most part, you got May gray, June gloom. It gets hot. The further east you go, which we've mentioned in a lot of different videos, you get kind of fogged in on the coast sometimes, or that overcast layer. Also, it talks about like rolling blackouts sometimes during these hotter summer months and stuff. We will have something called rolling blackouts. And then obviously with the hot weather and all the dry brush and all that kind of stuff, we have wildfires. And so every few years we'll have a big one. It just kind of depends. Every year we'll have multiple small ones, but obviously the crews out here are well trained. They kind of take care of it for the most part. Sometimes when we get the Santa Ana winds blowing off the mountains, it kind of spreads, these heavy hot winds, spreads those fires a little bit. But it is something that you do have to be aware of here in San Diego if you're thinking about moving here. So if those things didn't scare you away, and you still are thinking about moving out here, there's a lot of great stuff. Go check out some of our other videos if you want to explore neighborhoods, see what's going on, and kind of really dig into all of this, specifically North County area, Carlsbad, Encinitas, San Marcos, Vista, Oceanside, and everywhere right around there. So be sure to hit us up if you are still thinking about moving out here. Call, text, email, whatever's the easiest for you. We got your back when moving here to North County.